Hello there, friends. Today is 12/24/2021, and today is day 24 of the Odin blog project series. Today we did O4 Flex Information, which is going over basically the body of a website. We're kind of building out as we go down the list, building out more of the content of that make-believe website, if you will. And also, Merry Christmas Eve to everybody. Today is 12/24, as I mentioned. It is Christmas Eve, and I had some time to crank this out, so I was able to crank out this exercise same day. So I figured I'd complete it and crank out a video for you. So, um, so this one is a case of way overthinking on my end. So I'm going to spend a lot of time tonight or today on this video trying my best, even though it's going to get probably hard to follow. I'll try to be as clear as I can to show you guys my thoughts when I was creating the solution here. The solution does work, and I will show you that. And then I will show you how simple the actual solution was. So without further ado, let's get started. So the goal of this exercise is to recreate a section that is found on many informational websites. For this one, you'll need to edit the HTML a little bit too. We can't make things too easy for you. You'll want to add containers around the various elements so that you can flex them. Good luck. So there's a nice little hint there. And then there's your desired outcome. And then self-check. All items are centered on the page, horizontally, not vertically. Unlike all the other times we were horizontally and vertically doing that. The title is centered on the page. There is 32 pixels between the title and the items. There is 52 pixels between each item. The items are arranged horizontally on the page. The items are only 200 pixels wide and the text wraps, and the item text is centered. Again, I'm going to do my best to go over my thought process. As you guys are going through these exercises as well, you too are probably running the same problem I am, where you try something, it didn't work. You go back, you try something, it didn't work. It's a lot of trial and error, and then you change code, change it again until you get to your desired result. So naturally, when you do that iteration 30 times, as was the case with this exercise, it starts to look choppy, complicated, and doesn't really flow real well. But I'll do my best to explain it. So here's what you start off with. Is you start off with basically, I took a screenshot for you. It's a website that looks like this. Everything's just top to bottom, just kind of sitting there. And there's your desired outcome. This is what you're supposed to have when you're done. So basically, everything's aligned, and as we just went over in the challenges, everything's centered, and there's word wrapping going on. Text wrapping, there's centering, there's a lot of stuff going on here. A lot more what meets the eye. So, so let's go over the HTML. So here's the file, okay? And what I did was, here it gave you that hint that you're going to want to add containers around various elements. So what I did was, I looked at the desired outcome, like, okay, I'm going to make this information title, I'm going to make it a container, and then I'm going to make, which actually it already kind of was. So really what I was thinking was I want to make, what I ended up doing is making each one of these their own container. So this branch and this text is a container. This branch and this text together is a container. Container, and then these are flex items inside the container. The text is a flex item, and the branch is or the flower is a text item, or a flex item, excuse me. So we'll go through that here. So you can see, here's my class title. That's for the title. That was already there, actually. This is what I added. So I created a div class all plants, which is kind of, I tried to keep it intuitive so it made sense to me. So all plants is what it sounds like. I made a container that was all these combined. So this whole thing is a container together, and then each one of these are flex items. And then also I made a class called individual plant as a child. See all those right there. See that I highlighted them for you. So that means that the individual plant, which is this right here, is its own. It's also a flex container, as I just mentioned earlier. Flex container, flex container, flex container, and then inside that is the image itself and the text, which are both flex items. And if we look at the developer tools here, you can see that in action. So if I turn this on, there you see there's a flex item, there's a flex item, there's the flex container, and that's the same for each one. Here's a flex container for the title, which was kind of already set up for me already. And that's kind of that. So hitting back to this, so that's basically the nuts and bolts of that. I skimmed through that pretty quick, but nothing else changed. Everything else was already in there. It's your standard boilerplate. There's a bottom here, just a footer that says disregard it. They're just giving credit to the owners of the pictures. So go over to the styling. Here's your styling, CSS. And so the body was already there. I didn't do anything with that. Image, I didn't do anything with that. That was already there. Title was already there. So, excuse me. On title, I made that a flex. If you remember, the title is the top. This is information, exclamation point. And then I justify content center, and I added padding bottom 32 because in the self checks, it says all items are centered on the page horizontally. So horizontally, we'll get there by doing the justify content center, as we learned before. And then the padding bottom 32 pixels is because right here there is a 32 pixels between the title and the items, and hence why I added the padding on the bottom. Being a little more specific with the padding, and that got that done. Next section. So I went down and I create. So here's where I added the declaration information for the all dash plants selector that I created up here. So here's your all plants. So this would be, so that all plants is all this. So there you see it says div dot all plants. So it's its own. Basically, this container is a header container, excuse me, for all of that. And then inside of that, I did a display flex. Obviously, we want to do that every time to tell CSS that we want this to be a flex container. Justify content center, because in here it said everything needed to be centered, and just like up here. And then I did a gap of 52 pixels because in the self check here there's a 52 pixel between each item, which that gap does solve that by putting that in there. If I won't go through all that, but you would see in there it's there. And then we go down to individual plant. This is what I was highlighting earlier. So I have a class for it. It's exactly how it sounds. I tried to make the naming conventions intuitive. So the individual plant is this right here. So if I can hover just right, there you go. Individual plant is a flex container and it's a flex item. So it's its own flex container and it's a child flex item of this all plants. And I did that so I could get this centering and alignment correctly. Because if you remember, when you start off with, you get this, that's all, none of it's a flex container. It's all just one big chunk of text body, and it's all right justified. So you really have to build it out from scratch. So I did that there. And then within the definitions, declarations, I have obviously flex. I did a flex wrap, so that tells the CSS to wrap that text there, that flex item, which is div.text, and that satisfies this here. The items are only 200 pixels wide, and the text wraps. And there's my width at 200 pixels. That's where I got that from. Text alignment center. And justify content center, and this satisfies the whole overall self-check where everything is centered. And that's it. So maybe I didn't do that bad of a job of explaining it. So that was my thought process. Now the end result, as we've seen, it does work. This, if you take a quick peek at that, I'll give you a second. And then you look at this. Looks pretty darn close. I mean, there might be obviously some pixel variation, but it's pretty darn close. It's centered. Everything's below it nicely. Everything's the justification on the text is centered even. So you see, you got the plants on the plants period. Nice, nice, and one period, one period. Yeah, and there's that 52 pixels there. It looks like it's pretty close there. There's the 200 in between. There's a 200 in between. So I actually thought I did really well on it. But as you'll see here in a second, apparently I clearly overcomplicated it. So what we're going to do here, if I can get this to work. Why is it not showing me? Okay. Sorry, bear with me, guys. Alright, so let's just bring up the solution. Alright. Because we've already seen HTML, I'm actually going to get rid of this because this is getting messy fast. I won't show you the solution.html because I did nail that. Essentially, it's the same thing. They just used a different naming convention. They use container and info. So in here, let me just, I got to get rid of some of this crap. Okay. So they have container and info. So what they did essentially in their HTML is they have their container is this whole thing, and then they have info which represents each individual one. So basically the same thing I had. The only thing I think I did differently that they didn't do is I added in, and now that I look back on it, I don't really, now I'm kind of explaining it out, talking out loud. I don't really know why I put in that the additional flex container for the overall called, I think I called it all plants. Yeah, all plants. I really didn't need that. It's just overkill. But anyway, so on their container, they have a display of flex, which that's obvious. A line item center, which is obvious, as we talked about. Justify content center, so they're doing their centering. And in the container, they have the gap of 52, which satisfies this here. And then their info, like I said, look at how simple this is. it's so clean. It's just so sexy. The dot info, or their selector info, is max width 200. So they literally have one declaration on that, and that's for that satisfies this here. The items are only 200 pixels wide, and the text wraps. So honestly, oh, I see. Okay. So they added something I didn't. See, they put text align center in the body. And I had to, that's probably why I had to do the all plants to get it to center, because as you see, I didn't put anything with my body. I actually did have some stuff in there. Originally I was doing my, I did Flexbox definition on the body, and it was really jacking things up. Obviously that was the wrong route because that was not in the solution, but I backed that out, and so I kind of took a step back and I decided to manipulate title and start with that one instead and work my way down the page. So that's why I didn't do anything with the body, but I really should have put a text align center in there, and then I wouldn't had to have had this at all. Because if you think about it, all this is really doing is centering the content, which would have already been done here, so it would have been reduplicated, and then the gap of 52, which would have been actually put in container. So I could have actually got rid of that completely. So that's how they got that. So the gap of 52 is on their container, and that's right there, the 52 pixels between each item. So that satisfies that, because like I said, their container, this is their container, is the all four of these combined. So the 52 is on the top. So that's the 52 gap here between information that, and then is that right? Did I say that right? Oh, sorry, 52 between each item. So there's 52, 52. Yeah, so they did it there. Um, and then they applied the max width of 200 pixels on the item in .info, which their .info is this right here, which is my excuse me, the same thing as my my .individual plant. So so really the only extra thing I added was that I already explained. So if I didn't have the all plants in there and just move some of those things around that needed to be in there and put them put them under individual plant, I actually would have been very close to what the solution was. So like I said, my solution worked, but as you can see, I have a lot more in mind than what was needed. Oh, and I skipped this part. And then the title, they have margin bottom at 32 pixels. So, which is, I was right, spot on with that. 32 pixels right there. But I did padding bottom in title. So, I actually did that wrong. Now I say that because padding is obviously different than margin. So the challenge was 32 pixels between the title and the items. So they're talking about between the title and the items. So right here, yep, that should have been margin, and I used padding because the reason why it's margin is because this is its own. As you'll see here, we'll go over to the dev tools. See, this is its own flex container. So this blue area or purple area is the 52 margin, not padding, because we're outside of that that title title box, if you will. So padding would be the little space in between here. So I got that wrong, even though it ended up working out. It's likely worked out for me because I put the definitions for for padding probably. Oh, right here. It's because I put the no, the gap is the. No, that's not right because gap's horizontal. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, so that's it. So a classic overthinking, but I wasn't terrible off. I mean, could be better. But I didn't get stuck really. I did do a lot of reworks, but didn't have to do any Googling. I do use this a lot. I don't know if you guys are, but I use this site a lot. The one they have you bookmark in the program or in the module. This is coming really handy, and you can see I just do Control F to find what I want to find, and it works out really well. So highly recommend bookmarking this and using it in your journey as well. So that's really it, guys. So thanks for coming along with me on the journey tonight. I hope you had fun and learned a little along the way, and let me know in the comments how you did on this exercise. And please like, share, and subscribe for more content, and let others know. Give me some feedback in the comments, and let me know how you did, and excuse me, how you think I'm doing. And again, Merry Christmas to everybody. I won't be doing an upload tomorrow because it's Christmas, but Merry Christmas to everybody. And if you don't celebrate that, Happy Holidays, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.